Welcome! This video shows ways to compare strategies so you can select the one that's best for you. On to Step 5 of the planning process. Step 5 is about understanding how management decisions relate to trade-offs among the three management objectives: income, risk, and asset use. But here's where planting profits and the planning process end, since planting profits does not make recommendations. Selecting a crop mix is an individual decision. Every grower and operation have a sweet spot where their management objectives are best balanced. Planting Profits' aim is to help you find it. There are 4 tools for comparing strategies: tables, graphs, rankings, reports. Let's look at tables first. Go to Farms, Strategies, Scenarios. Select the strategies you want to compare. Click View Strategies. A table appears displaying the crop mix. Clicking on each of the other tabs displays output measures for resource use, risk, and conservation. Click on the strategy name to see crop field acreage assignments. The first 3 columns are the same for each table and show estimated income, total available acres, and acres assigned. Crop acreage shows the acreage assigned to each crop for easy comparison. This table shows acreage of forward-sold crops separately from crops from open-sold crops for the same crop type. The next tab is Resource Use. This table compares amounts of each resource used for each strategy. Working capital always appears in the resource table, since it is a required resource. All other resources are optional and only appear in this table if they are included in a given strategy. Remember, if one strategy includes a particular resource and another strategy does not, you may not be making an accurate comparison. There is a difference between varying the amount of a resource across strategies versus including the resource in one strategy and leaving it out of another. Comparing apples to oranges can be misleading. The next tab is Risk Profile. The Risk Profile table compares risk measures across strategies. Risk Profile is not a single number. It is a group of measures which in aggregate provides points of comparison. The Risk Profile provides a way to compare risk measures across strategies and to compare risks versus estimated income across strategies. In a later video, we'll cover analyzing risk and examine these risk-related measures. The tab on the far right is for conservation output measures. Including conservation measures in production planning may or may not be of interest or of use, but these measures are available if you want to use them for comparisons. The benefits of conservation practices are often realized over a long time horizon. This makes determining the benefits from conservation practices challenging and hard to pencil out when considering what to plant next season. There are 2 conservation measures. The first one is the percentage of estimated income in conservation practices. The second one is the percentage of acreage under conservation practices. Crops are designated as conservation crops on the crop information page. Acreage assigned to these crops are used to calculate the conservation metrics. These can be used to evaluate trade-offs between conservation and profitability, for instance. In a later video, we'll cover analyzing conservation practices. Planting Profits provides 4 graphs to display strategy information to make comparing strategies easier. These tools are the XY graph, the radar graph, the variance graph, and strategy rankings. Let's briefly review each one. The XY graph visually compares any combination of inputs and outputs across strategies. You can graph most input and output measures against any other. The comparison graph has 2 drop-downs to what to display on the graph. Click on Graphs. In this example, the vertical axis is estimated income, and the horizontal axis is working capital used. Normally, The independent variable is on the horizontal axis, and the dependent variable is on the vertical axis. But there are no restrictions, except that the x and y values cannot be the same. The radar chart shows, in one view, the relative positioning of any or all of the output measures. This chart provides a way to visually bring together all 4 sets of output measures: crop acreage, resources, risk profile, and conservation. If you've never seen one of these radar charts, it may look confusing with all of the data and information presented. But after playing around with it, you'll likely find it intuitive. It provides a valuable lens for seeing key differences in key dimensions among strategies. In order to display all of this data on a single chart, all output measures are percentages. Some output measures, such as the percentage of estimated income forward sold, are already in percentages. Other output measures, like crop acreage assigned and resources used, are converted to percentages so everything can be displayed together. For example, the percentage of barley in Strategy A is the acres of barley divided by the strategy's total available acres. For resources, the percentage of a resource displayed for Strategy B is the amount of the resource used divided by the amount of the resource available in the strategy. Just select which output measures to display. As each output measure is selected, the chart automatically resizes. Clicking on the name of the strategy in the legend hides and unhides the strategy on the chart. The variance graph is used to compare the impact of price and yield variability across strategies. This graph shows the relative measures of risk for a strategy and across strategies. The relative risk between strategies depends on 2 factors. Number 1, the range between the minimum and maximum yields and prices for the crops in a given strategy. If the crops are the same across strategies, then this is constant. Forward sold crops do not have price variance. Number 2, the amount of acreage assigned to each crop for each strategy. For a given strategy, as the range in yields and prices of each crop widens, income variability, or risk, increases. The variance graph only works if all minimum and maximum prices and yields for all crops have been entered. To generate the graph, values for each crop's yields and prices are randomly varied 10,000 times between the minimum and maximum prices and yields. This generates a graph that looks like this. The size of the bars indicates the range of estimated income. The variance graph shows the potential downside as well as potential upside. Strategies with less uncertainty due to crop acreage assignments and more forward sales will have smaller bars. To change crop yields and prices, go back to Crop Information Details page. Keep in mind that if you change underlying yield and price data, you may make comparisons between new strategies and the old strategies invalid. Beware of apples to oranges comparisons. Another view for comparing strategies is rankings. Rankings shows where each strategy ranks in terms of the 3 management objectives: income, risk, and asset use. Planting Profits Report provide another tool to compare strategies to help find the best one. To generate a printable report, click on Farms, Strategies, Scenarios. Select which strategies to include in the report. Click Print Report. Select the featured strategy. The featured strategy includes all input and output details for that strategy. The other selected strategies are shown at a summary level for comparison. You can also include scenario as points of comparison in the report. Click Print to generate the report. To summarize, comparing strategies to find the best crop mix is an individual's individual decision. It depends on how one weighs trade-offs among profitability, risk, and asset use. Consider what is controllable and what is not. Follow the planning process, but avoid analysis paralysis. Final management decisions are made based on available information, experience, good analysis, and yes, informed intuition. Thank you for your time. For more information, please go to www.plantingprofits.com.